Welcome to our virtual candidates forum for District 1 of the Santa Clara City Council. I'm Rosaline Zish, and I'm your moderator for this evening. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of San Jose, Santa Clara, and the Greenbelt Alliance. For 100 years, the League has worked to defend our democracy. The League is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of women, men established to promote political responsibility and through informed and active participation in our government. The League does not support, oppose, or evaluate political candidates or parties. Although on nonpartisan policies, we do take a position after very careful study. This is important to us, and we invite anyone who is interested in government and politics and in serving their community to be a part of this and join us. Our roles include voter service, education, action, and advocacy. And this, of course, is an example of voter service this evening. Tonight, this forum will follow the following format. There'll be no opening statement by the candidates. The candidates will respond to questions from the audience. The questions have been submitted in advance and evaluated by League members and members of the Greenbelt Alliance. They carefully went through them to determine if a question was complete or repetitive or needed to be combined. We made sure that none of them were specific to a candidate and made them general questions. Due to time limits this evening, we may not get to all questions. And now I'd like to introduce our candidates. These are the candidates for District 1 of the Santa Clara City Council. The first one is Harbir Bhatia, welcome, and Kathy Watanabe. Welcome, Kathy. And our timekeeper this evening is Judy Chamberlain. Welcome and thank you for taking part in this forum. Each of you will get 1 minute to respond to the question asked. You will each respond to the same question. And finally, at the end, you will get 90 seconds to do a closing statement. You're offered 1 rebuttal of 30 seconds during the forum. And if you don't use it, we will add it to your 90 seconds at the end. All questions will be directed to both of you. We thank you, and we're ready to begin. And we're going to do it alphabetical. So, Harbira, sorry. You get the first question, and tell us a bit about yourself and also why you decided to run for the City Council.
Sure. I think that's a great question. Actually, I've been a community organizer my whole life, but I've always been focused on at the grassroots level. And more recently, I felt that I had much more to offer, but I never thought people like me actually become policymakers, because I thought when I came to the United States, I came for the sake of, getting stability, financial security. But it didn't occur to me that maybe that's what we need more now, is more participation from the residents of the city that actually have the qualifications. And so I was quite moved, and I decided, and I talked it over with my family, and it was a difficult decision, but I decided that that was something that I was meant to do. If I really want to serve community under the auspices of selfless service and service above self, then I really do need to take it to the next level and make sure that I can serve my community as I always have. And I've been doing it for so many years in Santa Clara and many different leadership organizations. So I've learned a lot about them because of that. And I also have great relationships because of that. So I felt I was in the right place and really could help take our city forward.
Thank you. And Kathy, a
Thank
bit about
you.
yourself and why you decided to run.
Okay. Thank you, Rosaline, and thank you for the opportunity. I guess you could say that I've been actively engaged in the Rivermark community, which is where I live, and also the city of Santa Clara almost as long. I started out with, typical parent, PTA, being fundraising director, and so I've always had a knack of when I do something, I do a good job. And so things snowballed. And so the next thing was I was working to bring a library to our community. I was then working on Sister Cities and being the president of Sister Cities. And then people started asking me if I would consider running for office. And I felt like it was too early because my daughter was still young in school. But as time went on, you find things out about yourself, and then you realize that there's this part of you that needs to take it to a higher level, and there is the need to want to serve at a higher level as well. So I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you. Our second question, and we'll start with you, Kathy, this time. Please describe your district, include any unique opportunities or issues that you have or see.
Okay, that's a wonderful question because District 1 actually didn't have an elected official until I was elected in 2016. And so because of that, there was a lot of underrepresentation in this district and in this part of Santa Clara. It's very historic. If you know anything about North Santa Clara, you have Agnews Village and you have the old Agnews Hospital. And the orchards. And so all of those things have gone away, but at the same time, the area has been turned into a very modern, like an entertainment district. This is where you have Great America, you have the convention center, and also the opportunity for growth. So it's a very special district, but it still has some needs that are need attention as a result of the growth and the fact that it has been underrepresented in the past. And that's what I've enjoyed doing over the last 4 years, addressing those needs.
Thank you. And Harbir?
Hi, thank you. So that's a great question. And actually, I did a tour of the edges, and we have one of the largest parts of the city. It's actually very interesting that we have the 49ers, we have Levi Stadium. As a 49ers, the Levi Stadium, we have the upcoming related project, we have the Convention Center, Great America, we have so many tech companies. We also have the AMC Mercado Shopping Center, not to mention we have so many other corporations in this area. But interestingly enough, as it's been developed, it didn't really get the type of representation it needs because there are folks that are not just in Rivermark. I live in Rivermark and it's one of my favorite communities, but we also have people that live behind the 49ers, behind the postal office. We have the Fuller Park. So a lot of those communities aren't feeling really represented. And there's a lot of grand issues coming down the pike, such as the 15,000 residents that are going to be made for about 35,000 people. The issue is, do we have a plan? And are we keeping the existing residents in mind as we create a new entertainment district for the new future residents?
Thank you. And Harbir, the next question is yours.
Mm-hmm.
When the city budget is reduced, for example, due to the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
how would you decide what city expenditures to reduce?
Well, the truth is we have to look at this holistically, and we can't take short-term decisions. That's the reality of what's been happening in the past. Our current budget is roughly 76% is towards employees' salaries and benefits, and then only 24% is left for the services of the city. So when we look about this, we can't think about it just as a budget cut. We have to think about what is the purpose of our city government. It is to take care of its people and ensure that we're prepared for a thriving future and a quality of life that serves all. But to do that, you need to partner with your local offices. You need to think about how do we meet those outcomes, knowing that we do not have the services we need. Of course, we have to keep our essential services. There's no question of it. But we got to think big picture. And big picture is, how do I meet the needs of our community long term? And that's going to be by collaborating with our local partners and local corporations, collaborating to meet the needs of our public, but at the same time, really focusing on investing where we can create sustainability, not just cutting back for the year, but making sure we choose the right initiatives.
Yes, thank you very much. And Kathy, the same question about the city budget.
Yes, thank you, Rosaline. I appreciate the question. And I just have to start off by saying that my opponent's statement about the 76% of the budget being salaries is frankly a very reckless statement to make, because only $260,000, excuse me, $260 million of a $1 billion city budget is what accounts for our city salaries. So our city is definitely a city that is well managed and pays accordingly when you compare it to other cities in the area. The other thing I will mention is that as being proactive, the city has taken action in terms of but cutting as needed employees in an effort to reduce the budget. Public safety is first and foremost. We cannot afford to let our public safety take a cut, and also layoffs is definitely not an option. So thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. Next question goes to you, Kathy, first. And what actions do you support to increase revenue?
Okay, well, yes, and this is a very important question as well. And it's not just the city of Santa Clara that's dealing with this. This is every city in the Bay Area that's having this issue right now. One thing that we have going on the ballot in November is a measure to increase the hotel tax. Currently, Santa Clara only collects about, I believe it's 7%, and we're looking at possibly increasing it to 9%. And that revenue stream, additional revenue, would bring in about $7 million a year. Right now, our hotel tax accounts for about $1 million a month. So to have an increase in that amount of tax would definitely make a difference. We also have developments that we're looking at and expecting to have groundbreaking in the coming year, which will also provide a revenue stream, which will definitely help the city in terms of growth and moving forward as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Harbir, same question about revenue.
Sure, thank you. So having studied the budget, so as my opponent said that I have that information incorrect, I think she needs to check her facts. The budget is online, so please somebody go check it. But that's not the point here. These are reckless decisions. The CVRA was another example of a reckless decision. We paid I don't know how many millions of dollars on the lawsuit, and we continue to spend money there. So we have to think about, stop spending on frivolous lawsuits and think about going positive, and going positive is by the assets we have. Currently, the TOT is supposed to go up to 4%. Okay, the goal is to put it on the ballot to be up to 4% of TOT. Now, that's not going to solve all our problems. So we need to think about the assets we have, which is the Levi Stadium as an example. Kathy was the one who brought them here, which was actually, intention, I'm sure was great, but guess what? It was poorly managed. Because of that, we don't have the funds we need. We're not making enough money out of them. We have to think about new revenue streams, like potentially considering an employee tax, or why not start our Visitors Bureau again, which had $130 million of economic impact before it was shut down. So it can't be one solution, it has to be many solutions.
Thank you very much. This is a quick yes or no response, please. And goes to you first, Harbir.
Sure.
And it is, do you support Santa Clara's Measure E, which allows the City Council to increase the hotel tax? Yes or no?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes or no?
Of course, since I addressed it, of course.
Right. Okay. To a different type of question, please. And this one, we'll start with Kathy again. Please explain how you would improve the job to housing ratio in Santa Clara.
Well, that's a very good question as well. And the way that we are looking at that is in terms of where we put the housing and where we put the jobs. And right now in the north side is actually an area where this can actually happen. It's an area where people can live, work, and play. Number one, because it's near transportation. You have the VTA, you have not Caltrain, but you have the ACE train, you have Amtrak. And so these are very important components in terms of wanting to get people in a place where you get, where they're close to the jobs in the area. For instance, in Tasman, for instance, you have Cisco, you have Intel, which are also connected by pedestrian paths and bike paths. And that's very important as well in terms of wanting to keep a balance in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for you, please.
Sure. So absolutely, we definitely need to leverage the opportunities we have closer to north side towards 237 because it is more commercial. It gives us an opportunity to do some great developments there, but we cannot be irresponsible by having random developments as they're currently planned. We need to ensure there's understanding of how they impact each other. There's 15,000 housing units roughly coming on north side with no general plan, or area plan. Secondly, we need to think about how to make mini destinations throughout the city that allow areas to thrive locally into their neighborhoods, so we can have more housing near those small retail centers, but also make it walkable so the people that are living in those centers can actually walk to these areas of retail. So when we think about the city, right now our big hotspots are, of course, north side off of Tasman. The other is off of El Camino Plan. That's an important and a very amazing opportunity for us to think about how to increase the housing. And then there's, of course, the downtown of Franklin downtown. So we even can explore even Stevens Creek, but if you think about it, we have different components throughout the city, so we don't make the mistakes we made in the past.
Thank you. And we have two more questions, and they're also connected to housing. Some of this you may have covered already, but I do want to honor the concerns that people had. The next one, and would be Harbir would start with this one, which is, what will you do to create a broader range of housing options that are affordable to more people in Santa Clara?
So this is a great question. Actually, having had experience to work for a developer, specifically on the community benefit side for a year, even though my background is technology, I really wanted to have a voice on the table to learn how it works and how can I help the community be more represented. I realized there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of room for developers to provide more affordable housing. We need to think about affordability in a couple different ways, not just 100% AMI. We need to think 80% and 60% AMI for every project that comes in. And number two, we need to think of affordability by design. What that means are smaller units. Now we can do that throughout the city if we really want to ensure that everybody has access. And people keep thinking affordable housing is something that's supposed to be a negative thing, but it needs to be included because you want our youth, our seniors, our teachers, our workforce that really needs to have good spaces to have their families grow, because when the children grow in a healthy environment, so does everybody else. So I'm a big proponent, as I voted on Gateway Crossing and I fought for it, where my opponent actually only asked for 12 or 10%. I asked for 15%.
Thank you. And Kathy, same question about affordable housing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rosaline. Santa Clara actually takes affordable housing very seriously, and it was unfortunate when the redevelopment agencies were taken away by the governor, because it provided a stream of revenue that gave the ability to build affordable housing for seniors and for workforce housing as well. And we have some wonderful projects in the city as a result. We have 6 current projects that are waiting to start. Actually, one has already started. St. Anton's is up here in Tasman East. It's going to be a part of Tasman East, and it's going to provide about 200 units of good workforce housing that will be able to accommodate residents that are going to be living near the new related Santa Clara. And again, when I talked about accessibility to transportation, connectivity to the pedestrian paths and bicycle paths, we have great plans, and we look forward to bringing them forward in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. This question, and this would start with Kathy, and it kind of goes back to what you have been already referring to, both of you, because you do know your district. And that is that a lot of planning is going on for new housing in the northern parts, Tasman East and Fremont Circle, Patrick Henry Drive. How do you think the city can ensure that there is enough affordable housing in these new developments? and that the necessary amenities will be available to residents. And I know both of you have referred to this, but obviously this was 4 or 5 questions that we had, all concerned with the same issue.
Yes.
So, Kathy, you're first. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and it is an important concern, but the way that we address this is getting the input from the residents. And that's one thing that I really am proud of our city, that in terms of new housing, that they get input from the community to make sure that the community benefits that people need are addressed. We have to make sure that we have libraries, that we have enough schools, and again, that transportation needs are being taken care of, that our infrastructure is going to be able to provide the amenities that are needed to make communities successful. I think those areas could definitely be successful, but again, what it comes down to is having the residents, number one, having their input, making sure that community benefits are addressed. And number 3 is that making sure that the inclusionary requirements are met as well, and that we take advantage of everything that's available to us from the developers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Harbir?
Sure. I think this is a good question and a very important one, especially for District 1. So District 1, as I said, has roughly about 15,000 units coming, right? And I've been really talking to a lot of residents and going door to door to ask what are their concerns. Most of them don't know the fact that we have about roughly combined 15,000 units coming to Northside Santa Clara. And the reason is because this side of the city has not been engaged as much as it needs to be. There's so much happening, as I said, in this part of town. What we really need to do is to make sure that we consider complete development, okay? We need to think about how are we going to affect each other? Right now, between the different areas of Tasman, have we thought about, you know, where the grocery store is going to go? Guess what? We don't have a general area plan right now for that particular space. How do those area plans affect each other? So for me, my biggest concern is not just saying that we did the community input, but making sure we utilize what we have. Related project got to have 240 parking spaces removed, but we could have put a community center and we didn't.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking at housing a little differently with this question, and Harbir, you'll be up first on this one. Your position on the gradual density issues involving single-family neighborhoods. This is through allowing accessory dwelling units and duplexes to be put on that property.
I'm sorry, what's the question though? I apologize.
Yes, they want to know, sorry, they want to know what you think or what your position would be on. These are neighborhoods that have been traditionally single family homes and now have been gradually turned into duplexes and homes with additional dwelling units on them.
Okay, so I think the question is, what's my
It's
position?
a density issue. It's
okay, sure.
Yeah.
So I think this is where it comes back to the point that if we, you know, we really allow for fair elections throughout the city, we would have had a greater representation of from different parts of the city, and we may not have had that as the only issue. Whereas there was only one area of the city that was really speaking up about this. That's why I'm glad we did the ADUs, because families need more space and they cannot afford to live here. So until we have market rate housing that really allows us to balance this out along with affordable housing that's inclusionary, we will have to make accommodations for each other, but we need to make sure, how do we as a city manage these policies and ensure that we can continue to make programs to accommodate for the short term, but then we need to have an end of life for these programs and initiatives as well, that so we can ensure that people are planning and know that there's other spaces for them to move into. For example, whether it was in District 1, whether it's in District 5, whether it's in District 6 or District 2, we have to think big picture. We cannot do these things as one corner or one neighborhood at a time only.
Thank you. And Kathy?
Yeah, thank you. I think that the ADUs have been a wonderful benefit to the city, and I know that they are continually changing to make it easier. But however, I believe from talking to some residents regarding the ADUs, that there are better ways that we can streamline the process and make it so that they can be done faster and hopefully cheaper, because ADUs can be pretty expensive. I've walked one neighborhood in particular where there are large lots, and this is an area where there's a lot of history. And so the way they built houses back then, they were large lots, and several people have built ADUs back there. And actually, it's an area where they're very beneficial. I think the ADU definitely offers a wonderful benefit to those that, number one, maybe need some extra income, but also the availability of affordable housing. So, but at the same time, I know we can do better with the process.
Thank you. And this question will be yours first, Kathy, and it's actions that you think Santa Clara should take to deal with homelessness.
Okay. Yeah, and this is a topic that we talk about a lot, and actually has come up recently because we have an area here on Hope Drive where there are a lot of RVs parking, and you want to do the right thing. You know, people don't necessarily like to see a whole line of RVs on the street, but at the same time, we have to be compassionate and we have to do the right thing. So what we have been talking about and exploring is a way to find a facility to park these vehicles, to get and to provide amenities that people need right now. We have wonderful programs in the area that Santa Clara supports and will continue to support. And we do have some projects that will be addressing low income housing and affordable housing for homeless in an effort to give them a benefit and to make life better for them. But it's definitely an ongoing process.
Thank you very much. Harbir?
Thank you. I think there's definitely a lot of need in our area. I've actually interviewed a couple people today on Hope Drive. These are the RVs that are stationed there, to really listen to their stories and understand their issues. And guess what? There's the issues that we all have. And that is, you know, we think we know about, which is, again, economic issues. So the reality is we have a larger scale problem. And the larger scale problem is we think of homelessness as this other people's problem versus our problem. We can't think about it that way anymore. It has to be my problem, our problem. And so we, as a city, if it was me right now, as an example for the current example of the RVs, or whether it's the homeless that are off of Guadalupe River right now and Guadalupe Creek, I often go out there, we do food packing events and serve them. The truth is, we need to think about temporary spaces in which we can leverage the industrial area of District 1 and ensure that the city is involved, ensuring there's safe measures put into place, that there's water that's accessible to these spaces, there's cleaning in areas, that they even have the law enforcement when needed. So I think it's a little bit of a bigger problem than just one particular issue.
And thank you very much. The next question takes us to a different area. And this will go first to Harbir. According to the Santa Clara pedestrian plan and Santa Clara bicycle master plan, there has been 7 pedestrian fatalities, 167 pedestrian injuries, and 160 cyclists injured within recent 5-year period. Please address how you would see the city's role in ensuring safer and easier transportation for those who cannot or do not drive.
Thank you. That's a really important question. So actually, we need to think about the city as a holistic plan again. So when we think about designing, you know, whether it's pedestrian walkways, whether it is the bike lanes, we have to think about connectivity from end to end. And right now, that's not the case, right? So when we think about it, putting a bicycle lane in a space, you have to make sure there's an easy on-ramp to get onto the trail or to another location. That's not there today. So we definitely have to improve our general plan to make sure there's connectivity. And we have to make sure our pedestrian spaces are wide enough. So for example, I actually supported a review session for the Tasman East project, and we were discussing the inside of the Paseo. They had currently designed 5 feet as a walkway. I said, how will you encourage people to walk if it's that narrow? So because I've had planning experience and fighting for community benefits, my input was to make it 12 to 16 feet. And guess what? They made it 15 feet. Now we can ensure people are excited about walking, but we have to do that throughout the city.
Thank you. Kathy?
Thank you. Yeah, this is an ongoing process, and actually Santa Clara passed or approved the bicycle pedestrian plan last year. A lot of work has been given to like the safe routes for schools, which we're very proud of, to encourage students to ride their bikes to school. But at the same time, it gives people the ability to be able to use the streets as safe routes. A lot of people like to ride bikes in Santa Clara, and in your statistics, I was going to say that my husband probably fits the role of two of those numbers, because he's actually been hit twice. So I know that it's an ongoing problem that needs to be addressed. Just recently, we had some funding that we received from a settlement, and some of that money is actually going towards Benton Avenue, for instance, as a way to put in pedestrian and bike lanes, especially to ensure the safety of our bicyclists. But it's definitely an ongoing process.
Thank you very much, Kathy. The next question, and this would be yours first, Kathy. Where do you stand on the proposed Vision Zero plan, a data-based plan to eliminate traffic deaths and serious injuries?
Yeah. Well, again, this goes down to, it goes down to planning and getting community input. Where Santa Clara is right now is just continuing, like with new projects, for instance, finding ways to reduce our traffic demand, putting in traffic demand management ways to reduce traffic. Today, I was actually talking with a young man who has some ideas for putting in some new fun items in a park, but we got to talking about the supercharger station up here in Rivermark that was just recently opened, in a way to promote electric cars and getting gasoline vehicles off the road. And so those are things that we will continue to work on. The Santa Clara is definitely working on in terms of promoting electric vehicles and making our future safer and cleaner.
Thank you very much. And Harbir?
So I think the first thing we have to think about, if I can again come back to the big picture to solve this macro and micro problems, is that we do need to get people off the roads, and that's going to be with getting people out of their cars. So, you know, there was an opportunity for us to be able to offer a shuttle for the public and have that shuttle running all day, for example, on San Tomas, just one example, right? We could just keep that shuttle going, so making it accessible for everyone and making it easy for people to just get from point A to point B and then back. But we didn't do that as a city, and that was something that we really should have considered. So by getting the people off out of their cars and into these public transportation aspects is going to be a very, very critical element of our solution. And we have to look at things holistically again. We have major throughput areas right now. We have El Camino, we have San Tomas, and we also have Great America Parkway. We also have Montague. We have to use these as some kind of a circuit to make sure that we help people leverage the public transportation versus always relying on cars, because we all know that our cars sit in the garage most of the day. We're not using them. So what is the point? Put those resources for something else. So I really think that that's where one of our greatest challenges and the greater opportunities are.
Thank you. Your next question is another one of those yes and no's. And the question is, do you support Measure RR, which would provide 1/8 of a cent sales tax to support Caltrain? Kathy, yes or no?
Oh, definitely, yes. I actually serve on the Caltrain Modern Local Policymakers Group, and this is a big issue, and definitely we need cleaner transportation, quieter transportation, and faster transportation, frankly, as well, especially as we try to develop the corridors for transportation and getting people moving faster, and also, again, with the goal of getting cars off the road. So that's why I support Measure RR.
Right. Thank you. And this was supposed to be a yes or no.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But I just want to make sure that Harbir knows that she can add another 30 seconds to her response of her yes or no. Yes.
So my answer is absolutely yes. As I said earlier, we have to think about connectivity. We have to think about it being from end to end, and we should only have walkable of 10 minutes afterwards. So Caltrain is a very essential, mobility system for people that are going all the way to San Francisco and back. So I'm a big yes for that one.
Great. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate that. Okay, our next question, and this one goes to Harbir.
Yep.
First, please share with us, please explain your priorities for reducing greenhouse gas emissions in Santa Clara and anything else to do with climate improvement.
Yeah, so I think I kind of guess these are probably somewhat similar in questions, but again, the first thing we have to do is we have to get people out of their cars, right? I can tell you, I changed my car to a hybrid because I was trying to help myself ease my way in because I couldn't afford a full electric car right now. So, you know, it's such a smart thing to do, and it's not hard, right? So let me tell you, we have there's no question we need to get people out of their cars, but we also need to provide incentives, okay? So we have on Stevens Creek, we have so many car dealerships. We should work with them to make sure that they provide some kind of rebate programs to incentivize people to leave their, regular gasoline cars and get into maybe electric cars. It's just one example. Of course, on top of my desire to get people out of cars altogether, but we know that's not realistic. So I personally believe we have to focus on public transportation and end-to-end connectivity and trying to incentivize people into, low emissions and electric vehicles as much as possible.
Thank you. And Kathy, the same question about green gas or our general climate in Santa Clara.
Exactly. Yeah, this has come up quite a bit recently, and transportation is one thing, but also housing is another, and how we build. And so we need to make sure and we enforce LEED certified building, because that is a way to ensure that the greenhouse gases are reduced, and also protecting the environment. Also, we need, Santa Clara has taken action in the past in terms of protecting its parks. We passed, talking about Measure R, we passed Measure R to protect whatever open space is available in an effort to make sure that there is greenery, that there is places where we can continue to develop and promote clean air, clean space, safe places for families to be. So all those things, in terms of housing and our open space, we need to make sure that they are developed and protected in such a way that protects the environment.
Thank you very much. And Kathy, you'll be first on this question, which says, how should the city improve its transparency and provide better access to the public process for its citizens?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, so actually, Santa Clara is actually very good about this. And there is one thing that my opponent brought up earlier regarding the CVRA and the lawsuits and things like that, and that things that we're filing lawsuits and wasting money and things like that. If anybody goes to the website or anybody asks any of us, they would know that we are not involved in lawsuits. We don't sue the 49ers. We don't sue San Jose. Everybody seems to always sue Santa Clara. And the good news is that Santa Clara wins. But at the in the past 6 months, when the city put together its audit, it was all online. And it was easier to read than it ever has in the past. Thank goodness we have a wonderful audit department that is doing a good job in terms of making sure that the residents understand where their taxpayer money is going.
Thank you. And Harbir? Whoops, we've lost your,
what happened there? Sorry. So I apologize for that. You can dig me maybe in a second.
I don't think I did that.
I don't know how that happened. So I think that's an important point brought up. Okay, transparency is not only about giving you information that is one at the end of everything. You have to understand how you got there. And right now, our minutes at a city level do not come accessible to us from commissions or the council meetings or anything else until weeks and months later at a time. How is that transparency? And decisions are made in backroom deals all the time. And I humbly disagree with my incumbent when she felt that we weren't spending money on lawsuits. Look, lawsuits are not only about the fact we're suing people, but when we have a lawsuit, we also get involved. We have to waste our money. CVRA was an example. Measure C came to the voters in March. The voters voted it down from 35% on average, and yet we continue to fight this appeal, which means it takes time of our attorneys and other people. So I beg to disagree with the fact that people are not spending money on lawsuits. If we have better relationships with our neighbors and don't use the my way or the highway attitude, we would definitely have a lot better relationship and less spending.
Thank you.
I'm asking for a rebuttal, please.
Yes.
Yes,
So you'll have 30 seconds, Kathy, from the point at which you start.
Thank you. I hope you can see this document. It's actually from Measure A, when my opponent actually supported 2 districts in the city of Santa Clara. And she now is trying to say that our city is frivolously spending money on lawsuits, which is far from the fact. The court lowered the threshold, which gave the ability for the plaintiffs to be able to win their case, which is why we're appealing it, because not all of the information was shared that would have shown that our city is not frivolously spending money, nor are we racially profiling, or our districts are not, the word has just gone from me right now. But everybody has an equal opportunity in the city to vote and be elected.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay.
Thank you.
So that was
Do
your.
I get to?
No, but you can add 30 seconds. Actually, you can take your 30 seconds.
I thought it was supposed to be now.
To.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. First of all, I thought we weren't allowed to bring materials to this, and you guys made it very clear. We signed an agreement that we're not allowed to bring materials to this program, so I have not brought any materials to show, but absolutely, I did believe at that time that Measure A bundled with ranked choice voting would have been an opportunity. So let's make sure we have the facts that are clear. I have nothing to hide. It was not a good idea, and the voters voted it down. But the reality is, at the end of the day, the residents spoke in March with a clear conclusion. Who has said anything about racial profiling? We just cannot let the same people continue to control the council. We need to give diverse voices a chance.
Thank you. So you've both used your rebuttals, which is fine. Thank you so much, ladies, for your expressed opinions. So we have a different question, and this one will begin with Kathy. How do you plan to communicate with your district citizens and integrate citizen feedback into your proposals?
You know, I love social media. This is a great question for me, because I actually love social media. And as I go out and canvass and speak to the residents, one of the things that I hear continuously is how much people appreciate my involvement on Nextdoor, for instance, and on Facebook. I think in this day and age, we have to take advantage of social media, because we can't get together. We can't have community meetings anymore. We're on Zoom. These are great opportunities, again, to be able to communicate with the residents. So I actually, I plan on doing more Zoom, my own personal Zoom meetings, in an effort to make sure that residents are aware. In the past, what I've done is I've made great relationships with the HOAs in the area and had meetings with their board of directors and their residents in an effort to make sure I communicate what's going on, but also to hear from them and what their needs are and what they would like to see as the city makes decisions.
Thank you. And Harbir?
Sure. Thank you. So actually, I would be definitely the type of person that proactively reaches out to people. We have big policy issues happening in the city. And like I said, I love my city. It's a small city feeling, but a city with a big set of problems. So it's really important to have regular sync-ups. My opponent has had the opportunity during her 5 years, or almost 5 years, I would say, as a councilwoman, and there was no regular meetings. Actually, another council member did a great example of what it means to meet regularly. We should have had that. I've actually canvassed most of the city at this point. Half the city, or excuse me, of our district does not know what's going on because unfortunately, they aren't as lucky to be where we are. Myself and Kathy both live in Rivermark. And you know, the other neighbors feel left out because they don't feel like they're getting heard and their issues are being heard. So for me, I've even set up a weekly Zoom meeting right now during my canvassing. People can come talk to me every week to talk about their issues. And I'm so glad that they are because clearly they're not happy.
Thank you. And we're going to move to our concluding comments. And for this, you have your 90 seconds. And I would like to remind you, we'd love to hear from you about something we didn't ask you about. And we invite you to be able to do that. And to conclude this evening, we'll start with Kathy. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Rosaline. One thing that I didn't hear, and I was hoping that a question might be submitted, is that the curfew regarding the stadium and where my opponent stands on it. I know where I stand on it, and people know where I stand on it. So I'm sorry that that question wasn't asked, and maybe it can be addressed at another time. However, what I would like to say is that I've proudly served the residents of the North Side for the last 4 years, and together we have had unprecedented challenges and welcomed successes. And with all of your support, we can do more. Since 2016, some of my achievements include opening the Northside Library on Sundays and additional weekday hours. A new public bathroom will be made at the Fairway Glen Park, and it will open next year. Strengthening an ordinance to deter street racing and sideshows is something that I worked very hard on. My platform continues to be protecting neighborhoods from negative stadium impacts, mitigating airplane noise from the airport, and restricting RV parking in neighborhoods. Our city must generate revenue to keep us sustainable. I have helped steer the Related City Place project, which will break ground in 2021, contributing millions of dollars annually into the city general fund for decades. The project will also provide jobs in restaurants for our Northside neighborhoods and Santa Clara's future. Funding and volunteering to feed our children during COVID has been very important, deferring garbage rate increases and rebating electric fees to keep all Santa Clarans safe. I ask for your support. Thank you for your time this evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters.
Thank you very much. And Harbir?
So thank you so much. I actually have put a timer for myself so I don't go over. I will say that, look, we have to be creative and we need a qualified individual. My opponent is a very nice person. She's a great neighbor to residents around here. So we don't want to take that away. And I think, but we also need a person that can do policy making. We have big city issues and we need somebody that can have analyze complex issues, collaborate with the neighboring cities, our neighboring corporations, and neighboring residents to find best solutions. And I believe I'm that qualified candidate, trustworthy, collaborative, independent, experienced, and most importantly, I have proven myself by doing as much as I do with the various organizations. I helped bring Northside Library, then I started serving on the board since then to bring amazing programming that helps so many people that don't have those resources. I have worked to bring COVID relief to our city before our city even did. I collaborated and mobilized a young group of people who then made 40,000 handmade masks that served the public, the Navajo Nation, many others. We started a food bank. We've started so many things, but matters that the most important thing is that, look, we need to get the youth involved. We have great issues ahead of us. And I believe I'm not the highway person. My line is let's collaborate, not it's my way or the highway, and yet to see Kathy ever do that. So I am ready to take the lead. And I'm sorry, I'm getting noise. I can't tell if I should stop.
No, keep going.
Okay. So I believe I am the right candidate and I will take our city forward because I have the qualifications, the personality, the attitude, and more than anything else, relationships that can work together to find perfect solutions for a brighter future.
Apologize for that sound interrupting us.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thoughts. I apologize as well.
No, please, I want to apologize. So if you've got one more thing you want to say.
That's it, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to both of you for your service to the city of Santa Clara and our general population as well. We really appreciate that. And that concludes our forum. I'd like to thank both of you and our candidates, and also for all the volunteers that made this possible this evening. It's not an easy thing to do a Zoom forum. Much rather do it in person. The forum has been designed to impart information to you, the voter, and this recording will be available to you on YouTube, and also it will be available through the League. So we encourage you, and you can get it too by our Voter's Edge, which I'll speak to a bit more in a moment. Democratic government depends on all people being involved, informed and active citizens. League of Women Voters, we do serve you with candidate forums like this evening, pros and cons on ballot issues, which are both sides of an issue, not just one. Voter registration, which we're doing a lot right now, and of course, Voter's Edge, one-stop shopping, very important source for you. We encourage you to go to Voter's Edge because there you will also see personal information. And it looks like this. It's a website. You can see the candidates that are going to show up on your ballot, the measures that will be on your ballot, and the campaign financing information. You just put in your address and it comes up for you. It's really easy to use and very friendly, even for people who aren't techie. We also want to remind you that voting is coming up very soon. In fact, it's November 3rd. But starting next week, you will be receiving ballots at home. So we want you to watch for those, and then you'll have a big decision to make once you get that. The Voter's Edge you can get right away. Your ballot can be returned by mail, by Dropbox, or at a voter center, which is going to open just in a couple of days. The Santa Clara County Register of Voters has a way for you to track your ballot. If you do a mail-in, and we encourage you to vote early, you can follow it and you can see whether it's been registered or not. So I think that's a really fun thing to be able to do and to feel involved in the entire process. So you're voting November 3rd, and we want to encourage you to do that. Remember, democracy is not a spectator sport. It takes everybody to make it work, everyone, including you. We welcome you to join our League of Women Voters. Go to our website and you'll see more information about that. We thank you for joining us this evening, and we look forward to you being involved along with us. Thank you and good night.